first episode of season 6 is pretty boring. 70% of the episode has this black and white filter on it, and the episode's like an hour and a half. Yeah, for some reason, The Walking Dead randomly started making 90-minute episodes because they were getting real popular. It was pretty much the only show that was watched on AMC at the time, and it ended up hurting the show in the long run. But we're not there yet. This episode was necessary because we need to see that there's like 1,000 walkers headed toward Alexandria. Then there's the next episode, JSS, which stands for Just Survive Somehow. How fucking clever. These people with dubs on their forehead attack Alexandria. Some of the episode tries to focus on Enid, even though it really doesn't.
Okay.
I also like the contrasting styles between Morgan and Carol in this episode. Morgan is now peaceful after making goat cheese and meditating while Rick and crew were fighting for their fucking lives. So he's walking around like Donatello with a bow staff and trying to bring peace to the world, my brothers. Carol, on the other hand, is way past being civil and just kills everybody in her path. So in the past seasons, you can tell the writers knew Glenn was the heart and soul of the show because they teased killing him a few times. Well, in this season, they do it not once, but twice. And the first time was fucking ridiculous. So Glenn and Nicholas are on this dumpster, and because Nicholas is scared of all the walkers, he shoots himself in the head. First of all, fuck Nicholas. He's the one who got Noah killed. And second, apparently Glenn actually lands with his head facing the dumpster. So the walkers were just picking apart Nicholas. Because you know walkers aren't greedy, they like to share. So Glenn is safe and sound under the dumpster, except he literally didn't land in that direction. Right here, you can clearly see that Glenn lands facing the other direction. Look how he fell. Glenn would have had to do a goddamn swanton bomb if his head was facing the dumpster. Walking Dead, you guys are getting a little lazy. When this first aired on TV, it was noticeable, but going back now and just hopping on Netflix makes this scene 10 times more stupid. All of the other stuff that happens before No Way Out is good, but I'll skip ahead. So too many walkers overpower the tower. That rhymes. So now Alexandria is covered in walkers. The survivors finally use that gut technique that they unlocked and equipped back in season 1 and don't use a lot for some reason. Jesse dies because her younger son Sam can't compose himself, so he starts calling out to his mommy when they're surrounded.
Mom. Maybe you should raise a man. Says some girly little bitch.
So her other son Ron tries to shoot Rick because he's mad about his dad dying.
Rick is dangerous.
He also might blame Rick for the rest of his family dying. So he accidentally shoots Carl in the eye. Which, like, unless he was using like a strong BB gun, Carl should probably be dead, right? Speaking of should be dead, we got another fake out death for Glenn. In the end, Daryl puts oil in the lake because you see gasoline is less dense than water. Then all the walkers walk into the fire and die. The rest of season 6 belongs to Negan. So the Alexandrians need some supplies like food, soda pop, you know, the essentials. After scrummaging through some nothingness and listening to some tunes in the car.
Give me the downbeat, Mastro. I want to lay it on the line.
I hate you.
Rick and Daryl run into Jesus, who lives at Hilltop.
Do you even have any ammo?
Hilltop has food, but they need some other stuff like guns and ammunition.
They have food. We don't.
So they make a trade with Rick, but they let him know that there's this guy, Negan, who torments them and takes all their food. So Rick's like, all right, so if we kill this Negan guy, we get a deal, right? We can take some food? Yeah, sure, why not?
Confrontation's never been something we've had trouble with.
So Rick and his best killers go to Negan's hideout, or so they thought, and literally go Rambo on these niggas while they're sleeping.
What?
So they kill everyone except for this guy.
I'm Negan, shithead.
No, you're not.
Then these other strangers capture Carol and Maggie. To get out of this situation, Carol has to pretend that she's scared again.
We have to get him back.
But this time, she might have not actually been pretending. To be honest, Carol's pretty calm in this episode up until the moment when that one lady tries slicing Maggie's stomach. Also, Maggie's pregnant. Yay. So everyone comes inside, and luckily they didn't shoot at each other because that would have been tragic. Trevor from GTA, who we'll just call Simon, comes into the picture and is out for blood. Basically, they want revenge for all the dead people at the post, so they trap Rick and his group in the forest, and then...
Pissing our pants yet?
Negan's like, I'm only gonna kill one of you, just to be fair. Which in all honesty, is pretty fair. So Negan starts going eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and kills... the cameraman. That ending was...
Oh, shit!
and probably takes off a couple of points from this season for me. I would still give season 6 a solid 8.5 out of 10, because it's the most intense season, and always entertains me. That's pretty much what I expect from The Walking Dead. But the ending and constant fake out deaths were getting a little annoying. The Walking Dead is weird. At its height, it's up there with some of the greatest shows ever. How many shows can say that they were popular in the mainstream media for more than like 5 seasons? And I mean stupid popular. Not only that, but the acting in this show is pretty underrated because it's mostly an action show.
I know Judith isn't mine. I know it.
The problem with The Walking Dead, though, is that there's too much filler. I noticed that whenever I reach this season, I sense a disturbance in the force, because I know I'm about to watch 16 plus episodes of depression with no good conclusion at the end. One positive I will say about this season is the first episode is great. It's so sad, but pretty satisfying, especially in real time waiting for 6 months to find out who died. This is the episode where Abraham is killed by Negan.
Fuck my nuts.
Glenn also dies because Daryl lost his cool in the worst possible moment ever.
Take a damn look!
But after the first episode, Negan just fucks over the group in every episode. When Negan's not fucking over the survivors, he's out here pissing off Dwight.
Are you okay down there? Your penis?
Gotcha.
Negan should be shown in a dominant light. He's the big bad villain of The Walking Dead.
This is it. This is the only way.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a perfect ass Negan.
You are creepy as shit, sneaking up on me wearing that collar with that freaky ass smile.
Negan isn't really the problem in season 7. The problem is how the protagonists are portrayed. No character in this season has a moment of true triumph. Rick's mostly crying, Daryl's being tortured, Maggie's obviously sad as fuck.
In case you haven't caught on, I just slid my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it.
This is not fun to watch. Then you got newer characters like Jesus, who could have multiple layers to him if he were used better, but he's barely shown doing anything interesting. Another reason why this season has so many shitty, useless characters in it is because of the amount of groups that were added in this season. There's 4 new groups added in this season. 4. The Saviors, which is Negan's crew. These Garbage Pail Kids. The Kingdom is added as a new location. Don't even get me started on the fucking Tiger. The CGI is bad. Then, of course, the last group, Oceanside. Oceanside is an entire island that is full of women and some little boys. In the past, the Saviors killed all the men in the community, so now they're just here on this island.
There's the clicker. No one would blame you.
The only person in this season who really has a connection to the Oceanside characters is Tara. Skip! Unfortunately, we can't yet. While Negan was taking all the food and supplies from Alexandria, he also takes all their guns and shit. So when Tara tells Rick about this new community that has guns and shit, they want to make another deal. After arguing about it for an episode, Oceanside agrees to give Rick all their guns, but they say that they can't help because they're traumatized.
Bitch, what?
Y'all realize that if Rick's group doesn't survive this, Negan's just gonna ask him where they got all the guns and ammo from, right?
Moron.
So the Saviors are in the process of killing everyone and ending the show early.
You said I could do it.
How the fuck did no one see a big-ass tiger running at full speed towards Negan?
I don't know.
It's almost like the producers of the show just stopped caring about actually making sense. This season culminates with all the communities agreeing that Negan and the Saviors need to be stopped. And then Negan declares war.
We are going to war.
There's other crap that happens in this season that's not even really worth mentioning. Eugene's making bullets now? This season is a 5 out of 10 and could have been much worse if it wasn't for the first episode.
Probably.
Also, I know it was vital to the story as a whole to see Negan in his tyranny era. I guess. So The Walking Dead has had many different showrunners. In season 1, Frank Darabont was the showrunner. This is why the vibe of season 1 feels different than every other season. The walkers in season 1 actually interacted with objects like the little girl zombie and the other walker who was breaking into the mall with a rock in his hand. But Darabont was fired and sued. So in came Glenn Mazzara, hope I said that right, who took over the show for seasons 2 and 3. The only reason Mazzara left the show was because he felt like he didn't have enough creative freedom, so he dipped.
I'm out of here.
And then came Scott Gimple.
Really? This is what you guys are doing?
The guy who officially ruined The Walking Dead. In all fairness to Scott, he was the showrunner since season 4, when the show was still good. I gotta say though, seasons 4 through 6 definitely benefited from having those OG Walking Dead characters in it because viewers were already emotionally invested in them. Unfortunately, here we are at season 8. A lot of those older characters are gone and replaced by a bunch of bland ass characters. And the older characters that are left with very little direction.
I don't know.
The biggest focus of Season 8 is All Out War, which is a war between the Saviors and everybody else. All Out War was entertaining at parts, and there's enough two-faced backstabbing moments sprinkled in there, but so many of these secondary characters have received little to no screen time that I don't give a fuck about many of these stories. When Eric dies during the war and Aaron has to watch Eric die, I feel like there should be a lot more emotional weight to that moment, but there isn't because we've barely seen Eric on screen. Morales is back. You guys remember Morales?
Well, Officer Friendly, from up the road a ways. Welcome to the big city.
The odds of Morales just so happening to be associated with the Saviors alone is extremely convenient. But along with how convenient and unimportant this moment is, it's just another example of how small the world building in The Walking Dead is. Are all these characters just walking on the same path?
Wait, no!
What the hell was that?
Daryl has become a shell of his former self and has barely had any real development since like season 5. And I know a lot of people like Daryl, but let's just look at his growth as a character. He's introduced as this dude who doesn't play well with others and is mostly a selfish person. This is because his older brother Merle is a fucking asshole. And it also turns out that when Daryl was a kid, his father abused him.
I didn't know he was.
Yeah, he did.
Daryl also has to watch his brother, the only family he has left on this earth, turn into a zombie. So Daryl's got a lot of internal conflicts going on in the earlier seasons. But somewhere around season 5, he really doesn't do anything. I mean, he still does cool shit like this.
I'm not gonna kill you. You know what? Yes, I am.
But his character just stopped progressing in the right direction. If you ask me, I think the sudden, unnecessary death of Beth kind of hurt Daryl's character a little bit.
You're gonna miss me so bad when I'm gone, Dale Dixon.
Other than Carol, the only person Daryl was really open to for a while there was Beth. So when Beth's character died, it really just halted whatever Daryl had going for him plot-wise. Until season 7, because he indirectly gets Glenn murdered.
I'm sorry.
Daryl felt really bad about being half responsible for Glenn's death because he was being overly aggressive and stupid.
Stop it.
So in this season, he responds by being,
wait for it,
overly aggressive and stupid. During the war, Negan and the Saviors are trapped within the sanctuary and surrounded by a horde of walkers. This is the first time it actually looks like the Saviors are on the verge of losing power over all these communities, basically since like the second half of season 6. At this point, all they gotta do is let them die. They can't go anywhere, and they're running out of food. Maybe Negan survives this, but he definitely loses at least like 40% of his people, as well as the sanctuary. But old Daryl Dixon's like, fuck that, I want to kill him now.
There's a plan, and everyone's sticking to it. Not everyone.
So he drives a truck at full speed into the sanctuary without telling anyone other than like 6 people, and the Saviors escaped.
Are you fucking dumb?
And yeah, it's not only Daryl who goes along with this plan, but it's like, what have you not learned, buddy? Remember the garbage pail lady? Her name is Jadis, by the way. Well, she's constantly in between being a good person and a bad person, so much that I actually lose track of where her true intentions are.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
Morgan's entire character has been underwhelming, which severely pisses me off. Morgan was like the great hope I had watching this show since season 1. In season 3, when he came back in that episode Clear, I was hyped because it showed that Morgan was going to come back to the show eventually at some point, and he was going to be an essential character in the story as a whole. So I was always anticipating his rival in the background, obviously, you know, just enjoying The Walking Dead, but still anticipating Morgan's arrival. Then he came back into the show and was all peaceful and shit, and even though I was like, it kind of made sense for Morgan's character trajectory. Unlike Rick, who has spent the majority of his time in this apocalypse protecting an entire group and making hard decisions, Morgan has been mostly alone and with this cheese guy. So his outlook on life is a lot more positive than Rick's. And luckily, Morgan does act more aggressive in this season. The only problem is the writing is awful. And by the end of season 8, Morgan just runs to Fear the Walking Dead. Carl also dies in this season.
What the fuckity fuck is fucking going on in here?
Carl could have... Fuck that. Carl should have been a huge player in the later seasons. And honestly, even though I hate the fact that Carl died, I would have respected the death a lot more if he died in a more memorable way. But instead, he dies from a walker bite. There's plenty of characters who are boring and add nothing to the show anymore. And to be honest, Rick and Negan, maybe Michonne and Maggie, are essentially carrying this show at this point. I do also enjoy Simon's character, but whatever. Oh, and Negan lost. But yeah, this season's like a low blow that The Walking Dead never recovered from.
Please! Please! No!
So I'd probably give this season a 4 out of 10. So because season 8 was a piece of shit, Scott Gimple was fired. So they hired, or I guess promoted, Angela Kang. And I was skeptical, really skeptical, because some of the episodes that Angela Kang worked on were a mixed bag. But to my surprise, Angela Kang actually saved The Walking Dead. Or at least she did the best she could have with what was left over. This season has 2 time skips in it, which would usually annoy me a little bit because I think it's a pretty lazy way to tell a story. No shade at House of Dragon. But The Walking Dead badly needed a change somewhere, and time skips do offer a new tone. The first 5 episodes of season 9 are kind of like a goodbye to Rick,
AKA Ricky Dicky Doodog Rhymes.
Ezekiel's trying to marry Carol, and Daryl's jealous, maybe, but I doubt it. Negan is in this cell prison thingy that Morgan built.
You're not saving the world, Rick. You're just getting it ready for me.
The most compelling situation going on right now is the beef between the Hilltop and the Saviors. To be honest, everyone fucking hates the Saviors, which makes sense because, you know, they were just killing all their loved ones for about 2 seasons. Then the Oceanside crew starts slaughtering Saviors one by one for payback from a few years ago.
It's not like that anymore, okay? I'm one of you now.
I love this season. I feel like Angela Kang actually allows room for characters to grow and not be lingering around for multiple seasons with no development. Aaron started to become a more important character in this season. Before, I'd say he was mostly a side character with a few memorable moments, but now his character feels a lot more gritty. He also looks a lot like Rick from the comics, but I think that's just a happy accident. Even Jadis actually feels like a character now with real direction.
Wow.
When Rick ultimately leaves the show in dramatic fashion, of course.
I found him.
Boom shakalaka! It basically forced the writers to start focusing on more characters, and I don't mind it.
5 years later.
And many things have changed in 5 years.
It's like the old gang's back together.
This is baby Judith now. Henry from the Kingdom is now in Hilltop. Then these 5 new characters, Connie, Kelly, Magna, Luke, and Yumiko, are brought to Alexandria by Judith. But unlike the past Alexandria, this Alexandria is not letting people in, and Michonne's in charge. I think this is kind of an inverse to season 3, where Magna kind of looks like Michonne coming into Woodbury. Now Michonne's in the spot where the governor was, and that's dope as fuck. Then there's this scene when Rosita and Eugene hear the walkers talking. The whisperers are coming. Daryl, Jesus, and Aaron are looking for Eugene, but they start to notice that walkers are following them.
We could hear them. They were whispering to each other.
So Michonne comes through, and her and Eugene and the newbies are trying to get the gate open. So Jesus tries to buy them some time. So obviously that walker isn't a walker. It's actually a whisperer. The whisperers are these people who wear walkers' faces. They also blend in with the walkers because they feel like it's natural evolution or something like that. One of the whisperers, Lydia, gets captured and then gets interrogated by Daryl. Turns out there's a lot of whisperers, but the only ones that you really need to know is Beta and Alpha. Alpha is the leader and Lydia's mom. Beta is this 7-footer who used to be a famous musician. And even though Alpha is the leader, Beta is a better fighter. Henry is very important in this season. He's now the son of Carol and Ezekiel, not by law. And he's the only one of the characters who has a strong connection to Lydia. Negan is a different person now. He's all buddy-buddy with Judith. What a nice guy. Along with the other whisper stuff happening, another big plot that takes up a lot of time is the preparation for the fair. It's supposed to unite all these communities together again because something happened in the past that made them not like each other. A bunch of whisperers infiltrated the fair and killed a bunch of characters and put their heads on spikes. I don't know why, but out of all the characters who had their heads on a spike, the one that got the reaction out of me was Enid. Tara dies, finally. And also Henry dies.
I don't really love the fact that Henry was focused so heavily in this season, and then they just kill him. A good thing that comes from Henry's death is what happens to Carol's character after. Carol already lost her real daughter, Sophia, her substitute daughters, Lizzie and Mika, and now her adopted post-apocalyptic baby is gone too.
This is my boy!
So Carol's out for blood going into next season. Without Rick, season 9 should have probably been boring. But the Whisperers are very entertaining as villains. Alpha is also the best Walking Dead villain. Yeah, I said it. Her arc as a character actually feels complete. I'm not saying I don't like Negan or the governor, but they have a lot less layers to them in my opinion. The only negative thing I'd really have to say about season 9 is the time skip. And no, not the first 2 time skips. The one that happens at the end of the season. This time skip is done virtually for no reason. Even though I do like the visual of snow in The Walking Dead, the episode offers us nothing other than a nice moment between Negan and Judith. Season 9 has some of the best writing of the entire series. So I'd give season 9 a 9 out of 10.
This video is getting long. So instead of doing an actual review of season 10, I'll just say what I did like and what I didn't like. Starting off with the stuff I did like. The actress who plays Alpha does a great job at really nailing the role of this character.
There's a very spiritual way that Samantha approaches the role of Alpha.
Carol is completely rattled in this season.
Being out on your own, you've tried it before. They always pull you back.
Carol always seems pretty in control of her shit, but in this season, this is a stupid mention, but hey, this is a stupid review. My boy Eugene went from having no confidence and jerking off to Abraham and Rosita fuck.
Cards on the table, I was watching them.
Yeah, I saw that.
To risen up this lady from another community over the radio. Progress. Rosita's character has been boring for a long time. A lot of the time, Rosita just feels like a character who's just there, but not really there.
This season and some of season 9 developed this character a lot more.
I love this scene when Rosita explains why she can't fight as good as she used to. I also like this moment.
It's gonna be all right.
One of my personal favorite episodes from this season is episode 5. Negan is about to be put to death because of some scandal that's going on, and this person who used to be a part of the Saviors helps him escape. That former Savior guy gives Negan a bunch of his old memorabilia, which can be found at your local FYE store. But soon after this, very soon after this, Negan sees that motherfucker is a terrible human being and kills him. The first time Negan escaped, he went back to Alexandria on his own free will. But this time, things are different now since they want to kill him. So instead, Negan joins the Whisperers. But not really, though. Negan is really tricking the Whisperers, and when they have their guard down, he kills Alpha. It's also revealed that Carol is actually the one who let Negan out from his cell, and that just makes it less cool. The Whisperers are finally defeated. Alpha was killed by Negan, which I already mentioned, and Beta was brutally killed by Daryl. Don't like... The actress who plays Michonne decided to leave The Walking Dead in order to pursue other projects. And good for you, sis. Unfortunately for the show, and more specifically the plot, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Michonne finds a phone and some boots. Then she's like, all right, well, I gotta go abandon my 2 children to go find Rick.
Don't worry. Maybe she won't come home.
Who the fuck thought this was a good send-off for Michonne's character? Fun fact, did you know that this season has 22 episodes? You see, your standard The Walking Dead season has about 13 to 16 episodes per season. However, due to the COVID-19 and some other reasons I'm deciding not to look up, they had an extra 6 episodes added on to the end of the season. Here's Negan, and the episode with Aaron and Gabriel were really entertaining for me. But the rest of the episodes were mid at best. Also, because these episodes were shot during COVID, there's only like 2 to 4 people on screen at all times, which is super distracting. Season 10 was a mostly good season. The writing in this season is up to par with Season 9, and the Whisperer arc gets wrapped up in a perfect way, so I'd give Season 10 a 7 out of 10. Out of all the seasons that have come before this one, this is probably my least favorite Walking Dead season. It's far from the worst in terms of story, and it's also a lot more action-packed than some of the slower seasons, but this season lacks heart. Another thing that this season lacks is an actual conclusion. No. This is the most that our protagonists have ever been scattered. Maggie's crew is out searching for food and telling campfire stories. Judith is back at Alexandria.
Talk too much. No wonder your mom abandoned you.
What did you say? Say it again.
Carol and a few others are looking for Connie. Eugene, Ezekiel, Yumiko, and Princess found this new community, the Commonwealth. Oh yeah, I didn't mention Princess. She's kind of quirky.
Hold on. You guys are real, right?
Is that supposed to be a joke?
Then there's Daryl, who's currently captured and tortured.
I need you to cooperate.
I told you everything.
You told us nothing.
No, don't adjust your sets. This isn't season 7. Like, listen, y'all. I like Daryl, but why the fuck am I supposed to care about this relationship between him and this chick? If you skip through those COVID episodes from the last half of season 10, then you probably don't even know who she is.
Or do you belong with the family you left? Because it was too hard to face what happened? Or do you belong here with me?
Who are you, and why should I care?
It's like, instead of trying to establish this relationship a little better over season 9 and 10, they instead decided to cram it all in one fucking episode and then just exposition their way through the rest of the questions the viewers might have. Maggie's character is underwhelming. I don't put this blame on Angela Kang or Lauren Cohan. Instead, I think the real problem here is that too many top actors just started abruptly leaving the show. Rick is understandable, I guess, but Michonne and Maggie were both rushed out of the show when they left. Both actresses started acting in better roles. Well, not really Maggie, but... And at least we saw why Michonne left. But like, where the fuck has Maggie been? I know they said that she's been with Georgie, but why would Maggie ever leave the only real family she's had left in this apocalypse for 5 years? The survivors making it to Commonwealth was a great way to end The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead could have ended in so many shitty ways. I'm sure you guys have heard the whole Rick is dreaming this whole time in a coma theory. But the survivors finally finding a place with an actual sanctuary with 50,000 plus people in it almost sounds too good to be true. And this is another frustrating part about this season. They can't just have a happy ending, huh? The Commonwealth is kind of like the old world, or I guess our world in real life. Shitty and political. But considering the alternative is running for your life every day, I'd say politics aren't that bad. And then the last thing about this season that ticked me off, the variant walkers.
What the hell?
Now, I don't know why the fuck in a show called The Walking Dead, they never thought about the idea of, you know, walkers evolving. Maybe that could add a new dynamic to the show and make the show interesting. But introducing a new type of walker in the last season of an 11-season series.
Why would you do that?
The last episode of The Walking Dead is an amazing episode. The action was great, and Rosita's death was very emotional.
And of course, I'm happy that Rick was able to return to the show in some way, kinda.
The reason I said this season lacks a true conclusion is because it has no conclusion. Season 11 is basically a prequel for all these other shows that are about to come out. And you bet your ass I'm gonna watch Rick and Michonne, but I'm sorry, that's enough Walking Dead for me. So I'd probably give this season a 6.5 out of 10. Maybe that's harsh. I don't care. So if you've made it to this point in the video, I have a question for you. What do you think is the legacy of The Walking Dead? How do you think this show will be remembered? If you like this video, then like this video.
When you were pouring the Bisquick, you trying to make pancakes?